Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Cristina Blaj. I'm CEO of Open Revenue Consulting and brand ambassador for Userguest, and I'm gathered here with Kalp Raval, the head of digital customer acquisition of the Strand Palace in the Lansbury. How are you, Kalp? Thank you so much for joining us.
Very well, glad to be here. Thank you, Cristina.
It's a great pleasure. Well, today we have a really interesting topic for debate. How do we unlock that conversion in the direct channel? We've been talking over the past few sessions about how important the symbiotic relationship is between revenue and marketing, and
Absolutely.
being able to retain that direct customer and also make sure that we improve profitability. And I'm really, really glad that we're having this conversation, because you're also representing owners and asset owners and investment funds, so you have a lot of experience working with them, so
Yes.
you sort of know what they care about. How important would you say is direct bookings in the overall scheme of profitability?
It's hugely important. The biggest plus is that it's the most profitable channel. OTAs, wholesalers, negotiated corporate rates. Direct business stands to give you the largest chunk down to the bottom line. The other biggest plus in today's market is that you own all of the data, as opposed to OTAs giving you masked emails, partial information about your guests. It gives you the greatest opportunity to understand your guests to the fullest.
And really be able to curate something really special for them, right?
Absolutely. You understand them better, you can serve them something more personalized, something that is more to their liking, helps you stand out from the noise as well.
I need to keep it closer, apparently.
Okay.
There we are.
That's
okay,
better.
So they can hear
All right,
us.
thank you.
All right. Otherwise, you can only hear me, and that's not good enough. Right. So in this whole effort of direct bookings, obviously the website
Yes.
is the main character, right?
Absolutely.
How important is the website, and what would you say is the value of the website?
Well, it's your shop front. It's your digital shop front. Everybody's online these days, so you need to have that presence. Doesn't need to be said. And that is where you have the most control in terms of curating what information you want to present to your potential and returning guests. You also gives you control over how you represent your brand, which aspects, what is the message, tone of voice. Therefore, incredibly important in terms of how you come across as a business to existing or potential guests.
And I guess it's a really good opportunity to really control the guest experience.
Certainly. You decide what goes on there, unlike the OTAs who then go and put the prices that they like. So hugely important, as a marketing tool. That is where you set the expectation of the guests in terms of what they can expect once they go over to the booking engine. Different story, but still, that's the gateway to your brand.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest challenge for hotels when we talk about direct conversion is that it's very limited conversion. It's a very low conversion, right?
Yes, it is difficult to, particularly for independent hotels. Being at the independent hotel show, we find it more challenging than the bigger brands, obviously, because of our reach, because of competitiveness in terms of variety of options available, and that's where we need to leverage every possible aspect that we have to give a unique proposition to our guests, which is unmatched through OTAs or other avenues.
Yeah, and one of the things that we see a lot is there's a lot of effort put into digital marketing. You're working with various different channels, so you flow a lot of billboard effect into the website. But there's a challenge there, right? The bigger challenge we see industry-wide is that it's a bottleneck. It's like you flow the user in, the traffic comes in, but then it doesn't convert, right? Why do you think that's happening?
There are a few reasons for that. First of all, what you're defining as conversion. If you're only looking at purchases, there are people visiting your website to understand about what your product offer is. Sometimes restaurant bookings are not tracked. Sometimes spa or other ancillary revenue options are not tracked. Besides the point, the booking engine is a separate entity most of the times from the website. Therefore, the challenge is in having that uniformity in messaging, branding, going over, or just defining the user journey to your liking may be disjointed because essentially you're going to a separate platform as opposed to your website when you want the guest to book with you.
And even, as you said very rightly, there's two different entities, the hotel website and the booking engine. And we see that a lot of the revenue efforts today, they are focused on the distribution strategy that's not intermediary type of distribution strategy versus the direct strategy. That's one of the challenges that we identify. And two is that revenue managers in their efforts, they mainly look at the booking engine. They don't really look that much at the website. What's actually happening in that user journey on the website?
There's, I'll add one more point to that. They also look at the channel manager rather than the booking engine because that feeds through to the OTAs.
Yeah.
Who can blame them? With Booking.com's several $1 trillion worth of marketing budgets, they are an easy tool, or an Expedia or an Agoda or Hotels.com, an easy segue for you to fill your hotel. But as we mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, the most profitable channel in terms of data and economic gains, it remains to be the direct channel. The other thing is, because they're not looking at the website, they are essentially not taking into consideration what is the proposition that is first going out to the guest when they visit your digital storefront. When they walk in through your doors, what do they see, and how consumable it is, how digestible it is. That is where I guess marketers have a job.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's quite striking though that 80% of all the traffic in hotel websites today doesn't actually flow into the booking engine, and that's a big job for marketeers.
Absolutely,
and it has to do a lot, right, with how do you promote yourself in your direct channel in such way that you're able to capture that attention of the user when they come and navigate your brand, because it's that navigation, that experience that they're looking to discover. How do you make them, how do you engage with them, and how do you flow them into the booking engine, so to speak? How do you promote yourself?
I'm going to go one step back, and nowadays you have tools where your pricing is available before you enter a hotel's website. Therefore, that is a big consideration. That there is an impact there as well. So, in my efforts to collaborate with the revenue teams, I look at pricing as quite an important step, just because if you're competitively priced in the market, likelihood is the traffic comes to your website. Otherwise, the hotel next door is going to get the booking because it is a price competitive market, particularly in the UK right now. The other option is the data. Because they tend to work with the OTAs more often than not, what is the data that you're getting from the OTAs about where are the bookings coming from? If you can capitalize on that with your digital marketing efforts, then it puts you in a much better position. It puts you in a much better position to deliver the right message to the guests, so that then the flow from the website to the booking engine improves.
Obviously, you need to communicate and make sure that your direct rate is at least as fast, if not better, than the other channels, right?
It first needs to be better, then you can communicate it.
It needs to be better, and then you need to communicate it. But that's still a challenge for many hoteliers, isn't it?
Yes, and that's where I guess you have the example there of fantastic rate comparison, which allows you to demonstrate that on your website. So the user doesn't have to leave your website to then go and check the OTAs and Booking.com, because let's be honest, if you're on a website, if you have all the comparison data available there, you're more likely to go through to the next step from then on rather than leave the website and come back. So that's incredibly useful. on that front.
So you've been working very closely with revenue this year,
Yes.
right? You've been looking at how do I need to adjust my strategy? Where and how can my brand.com deliver? Where does it need to deliver? And based on how they shift pricing up and down, because obviously that's not your piece. Your piece is to drive and fill out those soft periods of demand and ensure that there's rate integrity in the web so that you're converting as best as possible. What type of data do you look when you talk to your revenue department, and what do you look very closely at? How do you communicate with your revenue team in such a way that they make your life easier as well, your job easier to convert?
And it goes both ways, right? I'm also there to make their lives easier. Some of the key metrics that I look at are pace, as you say in revenue management. What is your pace versus last year, or versus what is forecast? Not in the short term, medium and long term, because I work with London hotels. I mean, London, the city, and in cities like this, shorter lead time, OTAs are hard to compete with their propositions. So you have to really understand where your brand, website, your direct channel is most powerful, and capitalize on that. Generally tends to be the longer lead time because you have more time to convince your users to book with you. So I look at medium and long-term pace, how we are priced against the market, not just against the OTAs, because if you're not competitive, if you're sitting at a high occupancy, they're yielding, you have a higher ADR than your comp set, why would somebody book you unless they're a loyal guest? And you have to look after capturing the new guests as well. The other thing is, what is the expected performance from, say, groups or corporates? Because all of these are going to add into your occupancy. If occupancy is expected to come at a later time, it's going to impact the yielding strategy as well, and therefore have a positive or negative impact on your conversion. If you're not competitively priced against the competition, you're less likely to convert. Then, how competitively are you priced against yourself on the OTAs? That's the next step as well. So the key metrics I look at are lead time by source markets, but we fall into what is a statistical term that I'm not a fan of, which is average, and that can be misleading sometimes. The average lead time for me comes with a caveat where look out for the outliers, because if you have 100 bookings at between 30 to 60 days and you have 10 bookings at 150 days, somebody's booking for their visas, or it's the long haul markets booking. It can completely throw off your analysis to then give you, your lead time is actually sitting at 65, 70 days when it's actually 30 to 45 days.
And I guess also in that source market analysis, it's really interesting to see, okay, what are those sources that have obviously a much longer lead time? How can I get more of that on my base, at a higher booking value, right? US has a very different behavior to UK. So if we can, I guess, how do you secure more of that US versus the UK that's kind of coming in much later?
That's where you are looking to leverage your different digital marketing channels, what is effective in which markets, at what lead time. So not just in terms of the bookings coming in, but also in terms of when the demand. By demand, I don't mean the bookings, I mean the search on your booking engine. When are people browsing for which dates, from which markets? You can use that data to capitalize when you're targeting which markets. No point selling October half term to US and UK in the first half of October, for example.
Yeah, I guess all in all, you really need to understand, right, all the parameters that you indicated, but also having a little finger into the market to see how does that unconstrained demand really unravel on my website. I guess revenue management was focused for so long on that distribution strategy for intermediaries is that almost forgotten about the direct channel. what sort of data do you look at to understand that demand by stay date, that conversion by stay date, based on the price point you have? How do you benchmark against your comp set on those specific dates?
So I try not to look at one metric. I look at two metrics, just because it allows you to have a better balanced evaluation of your performance. So you're looking at revenue and you're also looking at conversion rate, for example, because I can drive my conversion rate through the roof if I drop the prices, or vice versa. One extreme for either is not a good result. So always look at balancing both. The other thing is with the comp set, sorry, you're looking at revenue share, but also at what cost of sale. As an independent hotel, you don't have a bank to throw at Google ads or meta search ads or meta ads for driving your business, and that's where you have to find that balance to make sure you have essentially a profitable approach and make sure that the direct channel remains to be the most profitable channel out of your entire distribution strategy.
Yeah, and I think we covered a little bit of the importance of being able to really segment your guests effectively based on high spend, their spend effectively, based on their lead times, based on how many times they actually come to visit you before they decide to book. So let's say we have the pricing under control. We're able to communicate that we have at least a par, if not better pricing on the website, wherever we can work with various initiatives. What are those initiatives that help you promote the value of Booking Direct, those benefits of Booking Direct?
It's interesting to consider how this has evolved over time. It used to be discount led, then it used to be value add led, so what am I getting for the same price rather than paying less money for it. Then it became experiential. Of course, this changes 5-star to 4-star to 3-star city hotels, or apart hotels versus resorts, etc. But it's about identifying what is valuable, what is important to your guest. Again, might differ. A US customer who's coming for 4 or 5 nights might want 20% off the last night, or the 5th night free after booking 4 nights. Just an example. Whereas a UK business guest might value breakfast included more.
There we are.
Sorry. So it is about understanding that, offering that, and personalizing that message with the right platform based on different stay dates. Have the right message. We very successfully do this with Userguest for our website, for example, offering a discount to members who sign up and log in and book. That also gives us an added advantage to have a more valuable proposition versus the OTAs, because behind the login you can do what you like.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the OTAs, because the OTAs do what they like behind the login.
Which they do. Yeah.
So, but the challenge is in getting users to log in. That's where we use the notifications to highlight the benefits at the right stages in the journey. For example, if you're looking at my restaurant page, breakfast page, I want to show you the breakfast inclusive option. If you're looking at my offers page, I want to show you the higher discount messaging. It's about curating that with the right tools.
And I guess so we all in all, I guess the direct channel is, more profitable. The users tend to book, stay longer. They also tend to spend higher revenue booking directly and curating their experiences, and it allows us to do that, to communicate with the guests as effectively as possible. And when it comes to really being able to bring that revenue strategy with that market intelligence, understanding consumer behavior, understanding that intent to book, and actually putting it into play, getting it to talk to each other, in a more integrated fashion, in a more real-time fashion, that truly recognizes the guest, recognizes their needs, automation is a key part of it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How do you feel about this automation? How important it is to you, and how do you feel about the technology behind it? That how much do you feel that technology has a big part in this whole contextualization and personalization of the guest experience on the website?
Hugely, because you have two types of guests. You have new guests and returning guests, right? So you want to personalize based on either one. You want to give the relevant message. It is a very time-consuming exercise, and that's where automation is extremely valuable and efficient way to deliver that highly personal experience based on the data that you have. As for the technology that you have, it ties into how what is the complexity of your segmentation and therefore messaging. But sorry, if you have that understanding right, it stands to be with Userguest, we have a very reliable partner in understanding occupancy data, for example, from the PMS, or understanding conversion from the booking engine, understanding source of traffic, etc. To then be able to deliver the right message at the right time, just so that you're basically getting more through the purchase funnel.
Yeah, so you said something, everything was really, really valuable, and I guess this area of availability and occupancy is such a meaningful part of how can we optimize a direct channel, because ultimately, if the vast majority of the guests actually come into the website, but they don't actually flow through to the booking engine, it's such a missed opportunity. The fact that you're able to detect their intention, that intent to book, on one side, and know where they come from and what they like and what their preferences are, and on the other side you're able to really understand, how am I doing from a hotel occupancy standpoint? Where do I really need to push the message? How can I convince those users that come to my website to actually look at the days that I need them to look at and match that intent? That's particularly powerful, right, for you as a marketeer, as an e-commerce person, to stimulate those soft periods. How has your experience been working with this boosters strategies in Userguest so far?
Very useful. I was a bit slow to start off with using them, to be completely honest, but since they've been extremely efficient, more so than the promotional messages, which I found surprising. And at the end of the day, that's what you want, right? Where the traffic coming in, the search and the bookings coming in for the periods where you need it the most. So highly efficient. I don't want to say digital marketing as a whole, as a discipline, is highly iterative. So you want to constantly monitor, learn, and improve. So I don't want to say switch it on and forget about it, but you could almost do that.
There's a lot of automation in there.
Yeah.
Listen, it has been wonderful listening from you, all your incredible experience, and you're obviously delivering incredible results at the Strand Palace, at the Lansbury, which is a very different breed from Strand Palace, nearly 800 bedrooms hotels,
yeah,
right in the middle of Piccadilly, and Lansbury.
Yeah, Covent Garden, yeah.
Yeah, and then Lansbury, it was sort of leisure and meetings and events driven property,
yes,
right? So very different strategies that you have to deliver in both of those. And so thank you so much for sharing with us your experience, and also for being here with us at the Independent Hotel Show.
My pleasure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And if I may add one more thing, I think with hospitality technology is hugely siloed. Everybody solves one problem really well, and that in itself is a problem. But that's where one real positive from the Userguest team that we've had is in the integration with the booking engine, setting up the PMS data, flowing into the system to set up the boosters, etc. That's a very key part of how you are educating your your client about using your technology, solving a problem, but also as a solution as a whole, because you don't want to solve one problem, create 5 more, and then expect your client to then adapt how they deal with 5 other things to work with you. So I think that's been a really positive experience for me, which I really appreciate.
And I guess everybody else that's watching us and learning about the one concern of a hotelier is integrating solutions and making sure that the data talks to each other, because that's really streamlining everybody's life.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Kalp, and we'll see you again soon.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about that.